All right, our final SEC team, and we are previewing here. We got a couple minutes. We go to San Antonio, the San Antonio Express News, covering the Texas A&M Aggies for the San Antonio Express News. Brent Zwerneman joins us here on the New Sentinel Sports page. Hey, Brent, Vince Ferrara and John Adams, good to talk to you. How you doing this morning?
Hey, Vince and John, thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
I'm kissing my wife goodbye right now. She's headed off to work, and it's my 41st birthday, so I figured I better go ahead and kiss her as she's heading out the door.
Hey, you got to be on radio on your birthday, huh?
There you go.
What a deal.
What a thrill, huh? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we know where your priorities are, and they're in the right place for you to continue
there you go.
on.
Well, thanks for having me on. And I'm actually based in College Station, which is actually another thrill because it's kind of an old-fashioned deal, an actual newspaper bureau in a college town. So I'm going to try to hang on to that gig as long as I can too.
Yeah.
Well, what about how long is Johnny Manziel going to hang on to that gig as a starting quarterback? What do you think about competition, and what do you think of him as Texas A&M's quarterback?
It was interesting, guys, because at the SEC Media Days, folks were asking me, well, what do you think? And I said, well, Jamel Showers is the guy. He was Ryan Tannehill's backup last year, had very limited playing time, but showed a lot of potential in that time. Coming out of Spring Gills, he was clearly the dude. And then something changed early in camp. It was apparent that Manziel had a heck of an off season. He's a freshman who set all kind of records at Kerrville-Tivy High School, which is just outside of San Antonio. Just an electric-type player, but hadn't shown much yet, and now suddenly did during camp and actually won the job. The positive for Johnny Manziel as a freshman is he's got a heck of an offensive line to work behind. One of the best in the nation with a couple of NFL, future tackles. As y'all know, Bruce Matthews' son, he sent all three of his sons through A&M so far. So, Jake Matthews at one, Luke Jokel at the other. So at least Manziel does have a good line to run behind and some really talented backs in the backfield as well. But to answer your question, I don't know how long he's going to last. They just named him as a starter for the first game, which is coming up Thursday against Louisiana Tech.
Brent, I think one of the more interesting early season games could be at College Station in the first SEC game with Florida playing A&M. I question how good Florida will be, particularly on offense, and I think that will be such a great moment for Texas A&M football playing its first SEC game. So talk a little bit about what you think the atmosphere will be like at a place which is known for having a pretty good atmosphere.
Yeah, I know a lot of Aggie fans were disappointed that it's a 2:30 p.m. game, here in early September. It might be 100 degrees at kickoff. So I think they're already preparing accordingly. And they also know that Florida trains in the heat as well out there, so it's not going to be anything new to Florida. They wanted a night game. They'll take the 2:30 game, and it's going to be a crazy, crazy atmosphere. All my Aggie friends are already talking about that game, and I don't mean to sound like Coach Sumlin here, but I'm like, man, these guys are going to have their hands full against, WAC champion and Louisiana Tech up in Shreveport here. They better think about that because that would certainly lose a lot of luster off that Florida game if they were to somehow go up there and lose that game, which is very much a possibility with this being there's so much newness around A&M football right now with the new coach, new league, and all those things. So it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment for them. But, yeah, you mentioned Florida's offense. One of the things that's going to hold this A&M team back this year, because I think their offense is going to be fine. They've got some playmakers in Ryan Slope and Christian Michael, freshman Trey Williams, but their defense is not good and thin. And, they've been running a 3-4 here the past couple years, and now they're moving to a 4-3. They were already shy of quality defensive linemen, and now they're even more shy of quality defensive linemen because they're running the 4-3 under Mike Snyder, who was at South Florida the past couple years. So if Florida's offense isn't very good, neither is A&M's defense. So that'll be a battle to a draw there, I think. But yeah, a lot of folks around here are already talking about that game. The only thing that they regret is that it's not a night game at Kyle Field for their first SEC game.
Joined by Brent Zwerneman from the San Antonio Express News, covers the Texas A&M Aggies, getting us our season preview of Texas A&M now in the SEC. Brent, we only have a couple minutes with you, but outside of what you've already mentioned, what are some of the other interesting developments in camp that you have noticed so far that will maybe shape your opinion of this team this season?
One is, I thought it was interesting that Christian Michael, the running back, who's who was a 5-star. He was Mike Sherman's only 5-star recruit over 4 years here at A&M. In the past 2 years, he's left each season with first a broken leg and then a torn ACL last year. But in the time leading up to that, he's been dynamic. I was kind of surprised he was left off the preseason All-SEC media teams there, but because he was actually averaging 6 yards per carry last year when he went out, which was a yard more than Marcus Lattimore, and went out 9 games into the season with 900 rushing yards. He's back. He's healthy. He's raring to go. He's chomping at the bit, all those things to try to kind of prove himself going into, his last year at A&M and going into the NFL. So I would really keep an eye, if I were opposing fans, on Christian Michael, the running back, who's just a spectacular physical specimen. The only thing that's held him back the last few years are injuries, and I know that's a big one. But they've also got a freshman running back named Trey Williams who ran for something like 8,000 yards over his high school career, led his team to the Class 5A state title near Houston last year. So keep an eye on those running backs. Like I said, they've got a great offensive line to run behind. Those are two things. And, Kevin Sumlin obviously has a reputation for just being a guy who loves to throw the ball around. He did that very well at U of H. But I also think they're going to cater their offense to their personnel. So I would say a big development is that the Aggies are going to run the ball a whole lot more than what people expect this season going into the SEC.
Brent Zwerneman covers the Texas A&M Aggies for the San Antonio Express News. You can follow him on Twitter. It's at Brent Zwerneman. That's ZWERNEMAN, and get the latest on Texas A&M. Brent, wish we had more time with you, but really appreciate your time. Happy birthday to you, sir, and thanks so much for coming on with us.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and any time, and I look forward to some of those road trips that are upcoming, and I look forward to making it up to Knoxville someday, too.
Yep, well, let us know if you do, and we'll definitely be in touch soon. Thanks, Brent.
You bet. Thank you.
All right, that's Brent Zwerneman from the San Antonio Express News.